My name is Carolyn Wetzel, and I'm the site director and the project coordinator for this project, the historic 1791 Borromeo Log Church. We know when the church was originally built. It was built here on this site. It was built between 1789 and 1791 because we actually have the petition that the villagers signed along with the lieutenant governor and the priest in the church in St. Louis, Father Bernard, asking the King of Spain for permission to build an official church. In the petition, it was specified that the church be 40 by 30 feet and that it be a post in the ground building, which is what this is. Post in the ground simply means that they dug a trench or a hole and the logs are vertical and they're actually planted, so to speak, in the ground. So that was specified in the contract. There was also a gentleman designated, some member of the parish, who was syndic of the project. So it was his responsibility to make sure that all of the promised donations and the promised labor was actually delivered. So yes, it was constructed by the parish. The church was dedicated in November of 1791. The church was used for festivities, for mass, for baptisms and marriages. The church doors were used as a bulletin board for the community. So the banns of marriage were posted on the door, announcements were posted on the door, auctions, and public events were often held on the church grounds after service on Sunday. There are a few famous people who were here. As the Americans moved into town, while this was still Spanish territory, they were required to swear an allegiance to the Catholic king, and they probably did that here as well. So Daniel Boone, when he moved here in 1799, probably did swear allegiance here on the site. We know that his son was married here. Daniel Morgan Boone was married here. We know that one of the men that joined Lewis and Clark was a resident here in town. His name was Jean-Baptiste La Jeunesse, and when he returned from the Mandan villages, he didn't go all the way to the Pacific with Lewis and Clark. He was actually married to a Mandan woman. She was here in town while he was gone, so he went upriver with Lewis and Clark and came back that same winter, and he's buried here in the grounds. There are several reasons for reconstructing the church, but two of them are probably the most important. One, we wanted a vertical log church on the street to reflect those early years of St. Charles. This was a French village, and this kind of construction was common. It's not common now. It's really unique. It's probably the first time in 200 years that someone has built a vertical log building, but back in the day, this was common, and there's lots of reference in the historical record to vertical log buildings up and down Main Street. So we wanted to recreate that missing part of the tangible historical record of St. Charles. The other thing that we wanted to do was to provide an educational opportunity. We wanted to do the reconstruction as a demonstration. So we talked to people. There were hundreds of people who stopped by while we were working, and basically we were working on the weekends. So there were lots of people here on the weekends. And it was amazing to meet people from all over the country who were really, really interested in this project. So they got to participate by watching the demonstration. And then on the other hand, there were members of the community who actually participated by volunteering with their labor or with in-kind services. We had about 40 to 50 people who volunteered and helped us with the project. The principal work crew has been Jess Francis, Brian Honke, and myself, but we would not have been able to finish the work if it hadn't been for the fundraising efforts of our friend Henry Elmendorf and Father Tillman and the members of the Borromeo Parish. Jack Lohr is an architect who worked with Jess Francis on restoration in St. Genevieve, and Jack donated the plans for the church. And then Charlotte Thompson, who owns the site, gave us permission to rebuild the church here on the original site. The first logs were put into the ground July 1st of 2005. And then by the time all the logs were in place, we started filling in with the rock and the lime mortar. And then once that was done, then we built the trusses and put the roof structure up. So we finished the roof last year, in January of '08. Well, the church will be open to the public in May and June on the weekends. We will be having historical demonstrations here as part of the Living History program on Main Street that the City of St. Charles provides. in addition to that, there are private events that can be held here at the church. There can be weddings, lectures, school tours. I've been doing school programs here already. So 50 school children can fit in here seated, probably 35 adults, depending on the seating arrangements. Anyone interested in visiting the church can contact me, actually at a new website called preservationjournal.org. This is a new website that tells the story with photographs and words of the restoration of both North and South Main through the last 40 years here in St. Charles. It's a very interesting website. Click on South Main, click on the 400 block, you'll see the Log Church with an article and my contact information at the end of the article.